Hi, thanks for joining me on another episode of Why Not Go in London. And right now I'm in Maida Vale on Sutherland Avenue, and just across the street is a pub called the Warrington. And I used to go here back in the 90s when I lived here because the Warrington had, it was a great pub, really beautiful, and it had a big Thai restaurant on the second floor, which was kind of unusual at the time, the Thai restaurant. So I'm just going to pan around here, and you can kind of see it there, the Warrington. Maida Vale is such a pretty area. And this is where I would see Glenn Matlock sometimes having a beer in the 90s. And we're right around the corner from where Sid Vicious lived. And I think Sid also used to go to the Warrington. This is kind of the local pub for this immediate area. So it still looks charming on the outside. We'll go take a look. All right, I'm at the Warrington in the front, and still looks nice. I don't know what's on the second floor, but as I said, this is right around the corner from where Sid lived, and Chrissy Hine used to come here as well. Glenn Matlock I saw in the 90s here, and I'll just pan around. I love Maida Vale. I used to live up the road in Kilburn, but Maida Vale's a little nicer. So pretty. All right, so I'm inside the Warrington, and as I said, Sid and Nancy live just around the corner from this pub, so I bet they came here. And I used to see Glenn Matlock here in the 90s. It's such a beautiful old pub, and I read on their website that in the 19th century, when public houses were frowned upon, they tried to attract a more affluent customer, and they put in some features from an old ship, which was the fireplace, the bar, and the staircase. So the fireplace, the bar, and the staircase, which still stand today, were put into the pub in the 1800s. It's such a beautiful staircase. And this used to go up to a Thai restaurant, but there's nothing up there now. But I love this pub. I love the fact it still looks very 1800s. I love that bar. Still has carpet on the floor. And apparently it also used to be, they say on their website, it was rumored to be an upmarket brothel at one point. And also the slang word randy originated here due to the pub's proximity to Randolph Crescent. I guess that's a crescent or a street around here. But isn't that a beautiful ceiling? I just love the lights. I just feel like I'm going back in time when I'm here. And I love the fact it has a rock and roll history too. I love it. It's very close to Abbey Road as well. All right, we're at the Warrington Hotel. Oh, I guess it's a hotel. I guess they have rooms up there. And that's Warrington Crescent. Outside enjoying our pint. Or I'm enjoying my pint and a cup of tea. Joe's having a cup of tea. Joe's having a cup of tea. What do you think of the Warrington, Joe? You like it?
It's fantastic. It brings out a revolutionary spirit.
A revolutionary spirit?
Yeah, within me.
The Warrington does?
It does.
But you like it?
It's high day. It's midday.
Yeah.
The tea.
Just having this cup of
A
Tetley.
few drops of rain. It's not.
Yeah. Look at the clouds. They're coming.
It's just a flesh wound, as they say.
It's
A few drops of rain. It's just a flesh wound.
and we're going over there to Warrington Crescent in a minute. Beautiful. I love Maida Vale.
It's awesome. It looks beautiful inside. The stairwell is great going up to the restroom.
The Warrington is just as I remember, just a lovely hotel. No more Thai food upstairs, but that's okay.
The staff is nice.
Yeah. One of the other things I remember was that Martin Degville of Zig Zig Sputnik used to hang out there. He wanted to have dinner with us one night.
You keep mentioning that.
Yeah, but we said no because, I don't know, he seemed kind of too out of it. I don't know. But he was nice. I love Zig Sputnik. All right, hanging out in the Warrington.
I was getting ready for more flush ones because it looks like it's got a rain.
Warrington Crescent.
Heavier over there.
All right, we just had, or I had a couple pints at the Warrington, just up the road. You can pan the camera that way. Just up the road, a few houses is the Warrington, and that's the place where I said that I used to see Glenn Matlock there in the 90s, and also the singer from Zig Sputnik, Martin Degville. He would be in there, and I'm glad to say there's no Thai food restaurant. There's no Thai food restaurant there anymore, but there is. The public's exactly the same. I'm glad it still has carpet on the floor, still the beautiful old bar and ceiling, and it's just great. I love that pub. So we just came down to 47A Warrington Crescent, and usually the A flats are the basement flat, so I'm thinking it's here. And this is not the home of Sid, but this is the home of Steve Dior. Now, Steve Dior, he played with Sid in his shows in New York, and I always thought Steve Dior was from New York, but he's not. He played with Sid 4 nights in New York: September 7th, September 28th, September 30th, September 29th, and September 30th. September 7th is when Mick Jones from The Clash was with them on stage, and when Sid did his shows in New York at Max's Kansas City, those 4 nights, I think each night was 2 shows, so he played 8 shows. And so Steve Dior, I always thought he was a New Yorker, but he wasn't. He's English. He's still alive. He's English, and this is where he lived back in 1977 when Sid used to live around the corner on Pindock Mews. And so Sid was good friends with Steve Dior, and he used to come over to this flat all the time. And the other person that would come over too was Jerry Nolan when Jerry Nolan was in town. Jerry Nolan, of course, is the drummer with the Dolls. And apparently they had a recording facility on the ground floor. So it was 47A. You can just pan out, that's 47, beautiful old building. And so Steve Dior's place was 47A. So I'm assuming it's the basement because A is usually the basement. But yeah, and Steve Dior was an interesting guy. He's, as I said, he's English, even though he had close ties with the Dolls. And as I said, Jerry Nolan would always be over here, and Sid and Nancy would always be over here because they lived just around the corner, and we'll get to that place in just a minute. But Steve Dior, in 1976, he started his band, The Idols. He lived here with Barry Jones, his guitar player. I believe Steve Dior played guitar and also sang. And he also, I find this so interesting, he rehearsed with Chrissie Hynde and Keith Levine in 76, and they started a band called the Quick Spurts. I love that name. It's like the Sex Pistols could have played with the Quick Spurts. And so I'm sure Chrissie Hynde was also at the Warrington as well. And then the Idols, his band, The Idols, evolved into the London Cowboys. I remember them. They were popular in the 80s. I never saw them. And Steve Dior was joined by Glenn Matlock, another person who used to go to the Warrington with his band, the London Cowboys. So I think that's neat. To be honest, I don't know much about Steve Dior, but he used to hang out with Sid and Nancy because they lived just around the corner. And I love the liner notes to the live album Sid Lives, and I'll just read a bit of the liner notes. Joe can just show the place there. He said at one point, this is so funny. Well, actually, so apparently, at some point in 1977, when Sid was living around the corner, a roommate of Steve Dior's here looked out the kitchen window, and there was a dead body outside, or they thought it was a dead body. Someone actually jumped, I think, from an upper floor, and their kitchen window was probably in the back. So someone, it's very tragic, but someone had jumped out the window and they died. So at that point, I guess Steve Dior let Sid know, and Sid came over and went through the man's pockets. Sid found 40 pounds. This is all liner notes from the album Sid Lives. This is Steve Dior talking. These are not my notes. I'm just reading his quotes. Steve Dior said, Sid found 40 pounds and took off the man's watch, but he couldn't get his rings off. I don't know. It's so terrible. Sid asked me and Barry to take care of Nancy when he was on tour. She would often show up and offer to cook dinner. So Nancy would be coming over here all the time. And she would do, you can just pan at the place, she would do baked beans and fish fingers. Not easy to fuck up, but she did. And then Sid would call from the US while we were there, telling Nancy, his wife, stories on the road. His war stories on the road, rather. One such story was that Sid had fucked a transvestite. Nancy was excited and wanted to know the gory details. That's all right, Sydney, as long as you don't fuck any girls. What I find so interesting about this story is that when I saw the Sex Pistols in Tulsa, Sid ran off with a transvestite who apparently was a big drug dealer in Tulsa. So I can show the picture of her, but I don't want to show a picture of someone unless I know for sure it was the transvestite he went off with. But he did go off with a transvestite in Tulsa. So he must have phoned her the night or the day after I saw them in Tulsa, which was January 11th, 1978. So anyway, so at that point, Nancy said, "That's okay, Sydney, as long as you don't fuck any girls." And then he goes on to say, this is Steve Dior again, the musician who lived here. "I got to see many tender moments between Sid and Nancy. My memories are very fond. I remember clearly the moment I summoned up the courage to ask about Nancy, because Steve Dior was with Sid in New York, playing with him when Nancy died. We sat alone in my apartment on 3rd Street. I wanted to ask him, but I was really scared. Finally, I said, Sid, I've got to ask you, did you do it? No, Steve, I didn't. I didn't kill Nancy." So those were Steve Dior's words. So he was very good friends with Sid, very good friends with Nancy, very good friends with the New York Dolls. And he lived here, 47A. So this was Sid's, Sid didn't get the place on Pindock Mews because Steve Dior lived here, I don't think. But it was very fortunate that he had, someone that he was familiar with, someone that was a musician, someone who was good friends with the New York Dolls, and obviously Nancy was good friends with the New York Dolls. So this is where they would come and hang out all the time. 47A, Warwick Avenue. And I must say now, I love the area, but it's very high end. I went online and looked at property values, and the average property, and I don't know if that's for a house or a flat, but the average property goes for about £2 million around here. So it's not the kind of maybe grungy rock and roll place it used to be. I keep seeing a lot of Porsches around here. All right, so this was Sid's friend, his neighbor, and now we're gonna go and see where Sid lived. This is the apartment that Malcolm got him, which was just around the corner. All right, one more view of 47 Warrington Crescent. It looks like it's still flats and not a house. But Steve Dior lived at 47A, so I'm assuming it was this ground floor here. A lot of rock and roll history there. And that's the building. Goes all the way up. Beautiful street. So now I just want to walk the way Sid would have walked to go visit his friend Steve Dior, who was close with Jerry Nolan and the New York Dolls. I want to just walk to see how close their places were. So I'm just going to keep the camera rolling. This is Warrington Crescent. Warrington Crescent, Maida Vale. I love Maida Vale. When I lived here in the 90s, I would have lived here if I could have afforded it. It's so beautiful. And I think that's Pindock Mews up there. I must say that Warrington is still a fabulous pub. Did you like your chips, Joe?
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
We had the sweet potato and the regular chips.
Yeah, we had the regular chips and the sweet potato chips.
Yeah.
They were both great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I had a
Nice
Stella.
portion. They were $2.85 pounds.
Yeah.
And the beer was really good, the speckled hen.
Yeah, I had the speckled hen. Yeah, that was so good. Now that's Formosa Street. So that's not Pindock. Pindock, let's see. Kind of looks like it could be. All right, so that's Warrington there. And I'm gonna go over to Pindock, which I think is right here. Just off Formosa. I think it's right over here. Oh, it's so nice here. Beautiful area. That looks nice. I also read in the liner notes for the Sid Lives album, Steve Dior says that I guess Steve Dior was into drugs as well. He says that they used to go up to Kilburn to buy drugs. That was one of the places. So I guess they couldn't buy drugs around here. Or maybe it was more difficult.
I put everything on the same bill. Shall I do separate bill?
She take care of it all.
I think you are going to take care of it because you're eating on the Tuesday.
Right. Lost, but we're just at the Prince Alfred, which is right around the corner from Warrington Crescent, and now we're going to go to Pindock Mews. So beautiful here. God. So beautiful. All right, Pindock Mews. All right. Love it. So this is where Sid lived. Nice. So those are the back sides of the flats or apartments from the other side. The other road there, Formosa, I think it was. All right, coming around. Oh, beautiful. Oh my God. This is so beautiful. I always wanted to see where Sid lived. So he lived here from 1977. He joined the band obviously right around the beginning of 77. And the band broke up obviously January 78. I met him in August 78. So he would have lived here from, I'm guessing, mid 77 to August 78. And then he went to New York. All right, back on, continuing on Pindock Mews. Is this beautiful or what? When I looked up, it said that most properties are about £2 million, so I'm guessing these are at least £2 million. And Malcolm got him this lease, and there's a famous quote or conversation between him and Sophie Richmond, who was the woman I met, his secretary, and she was the girlfriend of Jamie Reed. And apparently she said to Malcolm, oh, Sid's lease is only, I think it was 5 years or 3 years, something like that. Shouldn't you get a longer lease? And Malcolm said, oh, he'll be dead by then, which was sadly very true. He was dead within 3 years of moving here. All right, I found it. What a charming place. So Sid and Nancy lived here. I'm assuming they had all 3 floors. Malcolm got him the lease. What a beautiful place. And as I said, he lived here from 1977, I'm guessing mid-77, until late August 1978. I met him in August 15th, 1978, at the show at the Electric Ballroom, and Sid and Nancy had told me that they were moving to New York soon. His first show at Max's was September 7th. So I'm guessing I met him August 15th. I'm guessing by September 1st, he was out of here and at the Chelsea Hotel. But what a beautiful place. Malcolm got him a very, very nice place. To be honest, I'm sure Johnny's flat was nice on Gunter Grove, but I'm just going to pan the street. This is a much nicer street than Gunter Grove, where Johnny lived. This is fabulous. This is just, so I feel sad he didn't live here longer. I mean, I always felt that he would maybe go to New York and stay 6 months and come back to Maida Vale, but he didn't. So this is where he lived with Nancy. She was dead by October 12th, 1978, and Sid died February 2nd, 1979. So he only lived in this house about a year. I'm guessing mid-77 till the end of August 78. What a beautiful place. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't as high-end in 1977 as it is now, but I have a feeling it was always probably pretty nice. So yeah, Sid and Nancy, three Pindock Mews in Maida Vale. I'm guessing that is, not to concentrate on money, but I'm guessing that's worth at least £2 million, if not more. What a beautiful place. I just can't get over what a nice place this is. Joe just said, wow, Malcolm got him a nice place. He did. Like, really nice. Again, I don't know if it was as posh as it is now, but I think Maida Vale was always pretty nice. One thing I wanted to mention when I read the Viv Albertine book, Viv Albertine from the Slits, she was very close to Sid and knew him. I think the Hulu special kind of, I know Chrissie Hynde was around, obviously, but I think it was Viv Albertine who was closer to Sid than Chrissie Hynde was, because she talks in her book about how Nancy was lonely and she had to go over there and kind of come over here to this place and keep her company. But in the Hulu series, it said that Chrissie Hynde did that, but I think it was Viv Albertine because she knew Sid for a long time. And I think it was her that came over and kept Nancy company when the American tour was going on. So, yeah, Sid Vicious. So sad. This was his place. So I'm sorry he didn't live longer, and I'm sorry he didn't live there longer. As I said, I always thought he would go to New York and maybe stay a while and then come back to Maida Vale, but he didn't. He never came back. And I believe Glenn Matlock moved into this Mews house after Sid left, or after Sid died, rather. I believe Glenn Matlock moved in and finished out the lease. So, sad. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed our tour of Maida Vale, the home of Sid Vicious, and Steve Dior, who was in the London Cowboys in the 80s and also was a good friend of Sid's, and they would hang out here in Maida Vale a lot in 1977 and 78. I'm glad he's still around. But yes, unfortunately, Sid is gone. So thanks as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tour of punk rock, Sex Pistols in Maida Vale. Thanks again. I'll be seeing you.